1. A few years ago, I was watching a movie at my mum's place, who at the time was staying on site at an animal rescue. The rescue was a house on a couple of acres that had been converted into a rescue. The house itself more or less functioned as a normal home, with the exception of a few rooms that had been converted into little nurseries or keep hutches, but the backyard crisscrossed with pens for the rescue animals. There were surrounding properties, but it was kilometers away from the nearest station and very difficult to reach without a car. It was about 9 p.m. post-dinner, and all manner of creatures were sleeping soundly in their beds. Most notably, 2 dingo cross-heeler dogs. These 2 dogs belonged to the owner, and had the run of the property, sleeping on kennels on the veranda. They were little darlings once you got to know them, but quite intimidating when you first met, growls and all. Opening onto that same veranda was a laundry that functioned as a second kitchen. As this laundry opened from the backyard, the rescue staff kept the food, dishes, and utensils for the animals' meals in the laundry, rather than tracking muck through the house on their way to the kitchen. Anyway, we were watching the movie on my laptop about 15 to 20 minutes into You're Next, when someone knocked at the front door. My mum immediately told me not to answer it, but when I asked why, she had no explanation. My mum has pretty great intuition, but since the dogs weren't going off, I answered anyway. I swung open the wood panel door but left the fly screen locked as a concession to her. A soft male voice came out of the dark. The porch light apparently needed replacing. I could make out his height, under 5'9", body shape, thin as heck, a beard and not much else. He asked for someone whose name I'd never heard. When I told him there was no one here by that name, he said he was waiting for a taxi. But then he said he needed a taxi, and asked to come inside to call one. His speech was meandering. By this time my mum had joined me at the door, pointing at the windows. The door was one of those single panels with glass windows from door to ceiling beside it. As we had the lights on inside, and it was pitch black outside, we couldn't see the caller, but he had all the time in the world to see us. Worried, she gave the caller directions to a payphone down the street. The caller insisted that he needed to come inside to call a taxi. I insisted he use the payphone instead. He became quite angry and demanded we let him in. Afraid about being the only ones home that evening, my mum finally snapped and told him she'd call the police if he didn't go away, already dialing 000 on her mobile. Eventually he stopped arguing, and the prolonged silence suggested he was gone. Not wanting to return to the couch, which was in full view of the door's glass windows as well as from the veranda, the back wall was floor-to-ceiling glass panels, we occupied our time in the kitchen waiting. We heard another knock on the door. Nervous, we peered through the glass until we could make out blue and red flashing lights. We opened the door to 2 officers who started relaying the story. Suddenly, the officer closest to the door asked, "Is this yours?" We peered around the door frame. A knife lay on the windowsill, a knife my mother immediately recognized as being used for the rescue animals' meal prep. The officer said the description reminded them of a local homeless man who was known for drinking far too much and sleeping it off in people's sheds. As such, they were quick to dismiss it as a serious threat, but afterwards my mother and I kept making creepy realizations. That knife came from the laundry in the backyard. How did this stranger get it without setting off the dogs? Without setting off any of the rescue animals? How long had he been hanging around in the backyard, getting to know the animals? Had he been watching us too? What exactly did he plan to do with that knife if we had opened the door? I don't really want to know. Creepy night caller. Let's not meet. 2. I've encountered a person that I'll call Window Man that has really messed me up. This happened in summer 2018, so about 8 months ago. Some background story to help better understand the situation I was in and the layout of the apartment. My mom and I moved into this one apartment with one of my mom's colleagues, all females, for a short period of time. About 3 months to be able to save up some money for another apartment that we currently live in. So the apartment had a small bathroom and shower, a kitchen merged with the living room, a small room separated by a sliding door and a windowed balcony. We lived on the first floor, and even I, being the short 5'4" girl, managed to climb up into the window when I forgot my keys at home. Anyways, since the colleague needed some privacy, she chose to live in the small room. My mom would sleep on the couch in the living room and I'd sleep on the balcony on a mattress. Now, when I would lay on my mattress, from my point of view, I'd see the living room and the couch on my right, and the windows on my left, though there were some behind me that I wasn't really able to see. Alright, now to the actual story. We moved in, everything was going great the first month or so. I felt quite safe, even though I was very suspicious from the start of the windows, since we lived on the first floor. And I should mention that I've never experienced anything paranormal, nor have I had sleep paralysis before. So, one night I wake up, or at least I think so. I can't move. I can only blink my eyes and move my head. I look over to the windows and I see what looks like a third of a man's head and hand peeking through the window. I try to scream and get up, but I couldn't move or do anything. I was so terrified. I saw the man slowly closing the window as if he was trying to not make any sound and lowering his head as if he were leaving. I was freaking out, but still couldn't move. I saw my mom on my right sleeping on the couch, and on my left my hand was hanging off the mattress and my cat was headbutting it, as if he's trying to wake me up. I try to scream again a few times, but it doesn't work. I'm hysterical at this point, and I feel tears welling up in my eyes. Suddenly I wake up. I shoot up from my bed, my cat still next to the mattress, and my mom still on the couch, sleeping in the same position I've seen her in. I look at the window panicking as it's locked from the inside, just like I left it before going to sleep. I unlocked it and opened it, making sure there's nobody outside. I close and lock the window and lay back down, sobbing. I just cried myself to sleep that night. A few nights later, I've decided to tell my mom about the dream. I didn't want to at first because I thought that she wouldn't pay much attention to it. But since it had me so on edge, I told her, and just as I expected, she told me that I've been listening to too many horror stories and didn't take me seriously. After maybe a week, I forgot about the dream and moved on. And then one evening, everything was going fine. I was preparing myself for the next day since I had to do a big presentation in front of the whole class, and I wanted to look my best. It was about midnight. I took a shower, brushed my teeth, and went to sleep as usual. My mom was still up on her phone, but about to go to sleep. I doze off peacefully. But suddenly, I wake up for no reason and have the massive urge to look behind me at the windows. To my horror, I saw a tall man in my window, about halfway in with one leg almost on the floor. I panicked and thought that I was dreaming again, but quickly realized that I can move, so no, I wasn't dreaming. Still being in a state of fear and confusion, I whispered, "What the fuck?" And to my complete horror, the man looked up, all dark eyes shining in the moonlight. Put on the creepiest ear-to-ear grin, put a finger to his lips, and said, "Shh," in the most menacing way ever. I had no idea what to do, so I said louder, "What the fuck?" And then I jumped up and screamed, "What the fuck?" and started screaming like a banshee. The guy got startled and almost fell back, so I took the opportunity and closed and locked the window just as he was about to try to get back in. My screaming woke my mom up and she ran up asking what happened. I started nervously explaining all that had happened. And then we saw the dude climb up onto our window again, but the one right next to me trying to open it. As I saw that, I screamed even louder, and as he was opening it, I pushed him and he fell down, calling me every name under the sun. He then tried to make up some shitty excuse, but in my panicked state, I started yelling at him at the top of my lungs to get the hell out. I kept on yelling for about 5 minutes like a total crazy person, until the guy, finally, said something along the lines of, "Fine then," almost as if I was obliged to let him in, and started walking away. I slammed all the windows shut and locked them, sat down in my mattress and proceeded to sob loudly as my mom was next to me, trying to calm me down. We thought that was it, but a few minutes later I saw him again climbing up our balcony and I started screaming again. Opened one of the windows and yelled so loud that I almost lost my voice. I closed and locked the window and my mom and I went to the guard to tell him what happened. I described the man to him as best as I could, but since it was dark I couldn't say much about his appearance. He told us to just go home and stay calm, that he'll handle the situation. When we were going back, we saw about 8 neighbors of our landing standing outside wondering what happened. They all gave us sympathetic looks as we went back home. My mom gave me some medicine to help calm me down, and as I was crying and shaking vigorously for about an hour, until I finally was so exhausted that I just went to sleep with her, since I didn't want to sleep on the balcony anymore. The next day I showed up to school looking like trash, and when I told someone what happened, they either didn't believe me, or would brush it off saying, "It's fine, you're alright now." After a few days my mom confronted me about it and said she was sorry that she didn't take my dreams seriously, even though I wasn't mad at all, just shocked. She said that she was just about to fall asleep but woke up to me screaming. She told me that my screams were the most blood-curdling ones she's ever heard in her life. But the scariest part is that I woke up for no reason. I just had the massive urge to look back. There was absolutely no noise when the man opened the window and was climbing in. I even asked my mother if she'd heard anything, and she said that no, it was absolutely silent. Who knows what the man would have done if I hadn't woken up. Though I'm glad I didn't have to find out. The fact this also really shook me is that I had a dream of something similar happening about 3 weeks before it actually happened in real life. Though sadly I don't know what happened to that man, if he was arrested or not. We never saw him again. But either way, I'm just glad that we moved out of that apartment soon later. And to you, window man that has traumatized me that day, let's not meet again. 3. So back when I was still in high school, my dad left my mom and I, and went to live with his friend about an hour and a half from us. I was 15 when this happened, and I'm now 24, and neither of my parents will tell me why my dad left. Anyway, after my dad left, my mom lost her job because he took her only car, and we ended up living in a motel a couple of towns over from the town we used to live in. Even though we used to live in a different town, I still went to school in my old town. They would pick me up in a bus or van and bring me to and from school. A few months after living in the motel, I made this friend in school named Randy. He was really cute and we got along really well. Near the middle of the school year, my dad had a warrant out for his arrest because he hadn't paid child support for my other siblings in a long time, because he couldn't afford it or something like that. So he obviously ended up getting arrested. He spent 90 days in jail about a mile down the road from the motel my mom and I were in. And when he got out, he came and stayed with us again. Near the end of the school year, I was at one of my friend's houses when I got a call from Dad, telling me we got an apartment in the town I go to school in. I was so excited and happy. A few months go by and things are going smoothly when Randy and I decide we want to hang out outside of school for the first time. I didn't hang out with anyone outside of school ever because if I missed the bus that would take me from school to the motel, then I would be stuck with no way home and nowhere to stay. Randy was pretty much my only friend at the time, so I thought, yeah, let's hang out. We decided we would drop our stuff off at my house and then go do whatever, until one of us eventually had to go home. So we start walking home from school and we get onto my street when Randy says, "Hey, I used to live on this street a few months ago." And I asked him which house he lived in and he gave me my house and apartment number. I thought it was pretty cool that he used to live in the house I lived in now. Let's skip forward a few weeks. Randy and I would hang out pretty often and grew pretty close. But then he told me he wanted more and he wanted to go out with me. My boyfriend and I broke up a few weeks after I moved back to town, and I was then pregnant with his baby. I was now 16 and pregnant, so I told him that I wasn't looking for a relationship because of my situation. He said he understood and that we could just be friends. But now every time we hung out he would try and pull a move on me. But it wasn't anything huge like kissing me or trying to have sex with me. He would just always tell me how beautiful I was, and how my ex was an idiot for not being with me. Or try and hold my hand or put his arm around me. I told him every time to knock it off, and that I wasn't comfortable with what he was doing. And he would stop and wouldn't do anything for a few days. Things were going good, and Randy was keeping his hands and flirts to himself. Until one day we were hanging out at my house on a rainy day. We were sitting on my bed watching YouTube videos when I started having stomach pains, so I decided to lay down. We continued with me laying on my back and him sitting next to me for about 20 minutes. But then the pain got worse, so I rolled over and pulled my knees up. And then I felt him put his arm around me and put his body against mine, basically spooning me. I sat up real fast and asked him what the fuck he was doing, and he just kinda stared at me for a minute, and then tried to kiss me. I completely freaked out and pushed him off my bed because I have PTSD and it makes me freak the fuck out when people touch me. And he knew this very well. So I started flipping out on him a little bit and made him leave. After he left, I locked all the doors and told him I didn't want to see him anymore, and then blocked him on everything. Things were going good for a while. My ex blocked me when I told him I was pregnant because he thought I was lying to try and trap him. Even though I broke up with him, and I had several positive pregnancy tests. And then once I got my first ultrasound, I had a mutual friend of ours send a picture of it to him, and it had my name on it and everything, and how old the baby was. He unblocked me and told me he believed I was pregnant now, and was helping out with what he could, coming to appointments with me and looking for a job and all that. He wanted to get back together, but I refused, saying I only wanted him as the father of my baby. He would be nothing more. Point in all this is we became good friends again, and I ended up telling him what Randy did, and he did not take it well. He immediately messaged him, and they set up a fight for the next day in the school auditorium. Stupid, right? They both got suspended, obviously, and I found out my ex is a horrible fighter. A few days after the fight, I had a miscarriage. I was out of school for a couple of weeks now, obviously. And word got around pretty quickly because now my ex was once again telling everyone that I wasn't actually pregnant. And I was lying to try and trap him, even though he had come to appointments, where I had ultrasounds, and I even had a little baby bump as I was 3.5 months along. And I'm a very petite girl, so everyone in school started to hate me and all that. People started bullying me and messaging me, telling me how awful I am and all that. So things were not going well for me. Randy beat the fuck out of my ex for this, like I'm talking put him in the hospital. I was scared. I didn't know why he did that or anything. So one night I woke up to the sound of someone in my room. I turned my light on and there's Randy sitting in the chair in my room. I was home alone, so I was terrified. I asked him what the fuck he was doing in my house and how he got in and shit. And he told me he came in through the back door because apparently it's easy to pick the lock on the bottom door, and the top door doesn't have a lock, and my parents didn't think it necessary to put one on there. Now to clarify, I'm on the second floor and we have a back porch and a door that leads to some stairs that leads to another door into the house. So anyway, started to freak out and told him to leave and all that, and started screaming at him because all of the shit that had been happening to me was now coming out at this moment. I started crying and he rushed over to me and tried to hold me, and I shoved him away, and then he got angry and pulled out a knife. Now I was really scared. He started screaming at me about how he just wanted to love me and be there for me, and I just kept hurting him and he didn't deserve that. You know, truly delusional, obsessed person talk. So I started trying to talk to him and get him to calm down. He's listening and I start slowly turning us around, so I'm near the door and he's not. He realizes this and grabs me and tells me I'm not going anywhere. Now he's really angry and he's telling me about how now he sees that I don't see how good he is for me, and that just won't do, and that if he can't have me, no one can. He starts freaking out, saying, "What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do?" And in his mini freakout he turns away from me and I grab something and just start beating him with it. But he's not fucking going down. He's just taking the hits like nothing is happening, and just lunges at me with the knife. I dodged him, but he still got me. Now I had a slice on my side. That caught me off guard, so while I was distracted he got up and just kicked me in the back. So hard I flew a few feet. That hurt so bad and knocked the wind out of me, so I was just laying there thinking I'm gonna die. Now he's walking all slow towards me, saying I shouldn't have done that. Now I'll pay and blah blah blah. A cop kicks the fucking door in and tackles him, and another one comes in and scoops me out and carries me out into the street, while like 6 more huge cops run into my room. I was taken to the hospital and treated, and I found out later that he was on MDMA, and it took 7 guys and being tased 4 times to take him down. Thanks to my neighbor, though, for hearing my distress and calling the cops. If only they had gotten there sooner and not stood at the downstairs front door fucking knocking waiting for me to answer. Cops in my area are stupid and don't care about their jobs. At the same time, he was only 15, so he didn't go to jail. He got 5 years probation and 6 months community service, but his family moved away after that and I haven't seen him since, thankfully. I've recovered nicely. As most of the damage that was done, I had a huge, nasty black and blue bruise covering most of my back for a couple of months, and the cut. But it wasn't too deep, and he didn't kick hard enough to do any severe damage, so I'm fine now. So creepy obsessed guy, please let's not fucking meet, because you actually scare the fuck out of me. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 3 True Scary Stories, episode 375. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. I'm going to keep this outro very short as I am very tired and recording way later than I meant to. Had a check-up with the dermatologist today, kept me waiting half an hour, and I was in and out when they finally took me. 2 minutes would be generous. Just basically take your shirt off, nice, bye. There was a guy in a gimp mask in the corner. I take it that's normal for most dermatologists. Yes. Anyway, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.